Hi, everybody. It's Tim Hagen from Progress Coaching. And certainly during these times, you can hunker down. You can start to think about, geez, what's the next step? What do I need to do? And I think one of the healthiest things that we can do, and I don't think we do enough of it until something like this happens, and that is to acknowledge other companies, to acknowledge other people. And I think about everything that we're going through as a country in the United States and certainly around the world. But I also think about some of the things that we need to do during this time. To a certain extent, there's just not a lot of control. So here in Wisconsin, we're in lockdown mode. Quite frankly, I'm not even supposed to be in my office right now doing this video. And it's one of those things where you sit there and you go, what's the positives out of this? And I think one of the best books I ever read was Stress for Success by Jim Lohr. And I used to be a guy with an attitude. I was a naysayer. I was a person that always kind of looked at the dark side of things, the glass, half empty type of person, which when you meet me, you wouldn't think that. And one of the lessons that Jim teaches is, what do you do when something challenges you or presents change or something you have to overcome? And he teaches a framing technique called, what opportunity does this present? And so ultimately, what opportunity does this present? So I think about when my mom died. A friend of mine who knew I was a big fan of the book goes, well, geez, there's no opportunity here. And actually, we gave my mom's house that was a rental to one of our former tenants who was a great guy and still a friend of mine today. And we gave it to him free for like 6 months so he could help pay for his wedding. We turned it into a positive. I think about companies like Zoom. Think about what they're doing. Yeah, I know. They've got millions of dollars and they're publicly traded and their stock is up, but they're choosing to give their software to universities. They're choosing to. They don't have to. Nobody would criticize them if they didn't. So ironically, my wife the other day contacted me and she said, do you have the Zoom app? And I'm like, well, yeah, I use Zoom almost every single day. And she said, we're seeing patients on Zoom. I'm like, what? She goes, well, the hospital's saying, let's stay away from patients. We want to give our healthcare practitioners a choice. And so my wife's learning a whole different part of the world. And I said, Beth, it's kind of interesting because if we end up retiring or working or going somewhere else, I said, you can take your practice where you go. And that's the luxury I have in my business that historically she really hasn't had that luxury. And the other day, a client of mine, a friend, gentleman shared with me that someone in his family had lost their job. And I knew it had hit him and hit the family, and not unusual during these times. And I immediately called Peter Hom at Titus Talent Strategies here in Wisconsin, but they're nationwide. I think the best recruiting firm, doing some amazing work, teaching how they run their virtual company, not making a dime doing it. Just sharing their best practices, what they've been doing for 10 years internally. And I immediately got a response, hooked this person up with Peter. And, Titus isn't insulated from this. They're probably going through challenges, but they're taking the time to help one of my friends. And that's the kind of stuff that we just need to do. And one of the, from Wisconsin, and a little bit biased here, one of my favorite restaurants, I probably started one of my weight problems there, is Bartolotta's restaurant. They are infamous here. And sadly, their founder, Joe Bartolotta, had passed away in the last year. And I had met Joe, and their restaurants they're probably the best restaurants in Wisconsin. And obviously they're shut down. And they put a post out. And what they did is they took all the food from all their restaurants and gave it to their employees. Now, they could have scrapped it. They could have given it to a food shelter, which also would have been awesome. But they already do so many things. But they took care of the very important people called their employees. And we just don't do enough of that stuff. And I have to tell you, one of the things I get almost every single day is a daily thought from a friend of mine, Cassandra Worthy. And she is a change enthusiast. So I went through some emotional intelligence training with a gentleman by the name of Ed Hennessy with MHS. Ed has his own practice. It was great training. And I met Cassandra in a Zoom room in a breakout session. And it's been so fun to get to know her. And I know that a lot of her revenue is based on speaking engagements. And I'm reading her posts every day. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, now here's a person whose world probably got rocked a little bit because, speakers aren't probably being flown in to do a lot of presentations because people aren't allowed to travel there or go there. And every day it's upbeat. Every day it's about she's practicing what she preaches. And there are days I'm thinking, oh man, I've worked so hard. We were off to our record year this year and some things got pushed back. And I sit here and I read her post and I'm like, what am I complaining about? And then I think about, again, a little bit biased here in Wisconsin, I think about a restaurant, or excuse me, a grocery store by the name of Sendik's. It's one of our favorite grocery stores. And I sat there and I thought about this. Think about this. Those people aren't being paid millions of dollars. They could throw their hands up and say, hold on a second. I'm at risk here. I don't need to be a cashier where I'm exchanging money with people's hands. They could sit there and say, hey, I'm going to wait this out. I'll come back and reapply, or I'll work at another place. And every time I go to that grocery store, the same people are there working. And I sit there and I thought, I never thought I would praise people who work at a grocery store. I'm not putting it down at a lower level. I'm just merely sharing. It gives you a perspective. It's like, wow, this is kind of cool. This is different. This is neat. And so what I challenge all of us to do, and I challenge all of us to do it in a way that gives us not just thought leadership opportunities, but to genuinely, authentically acknowledge other people. So what I'd like to do below this video, and I'm going to do the same thing with the people I mentioned, is I want you to acknowledge 3 companies and what they're doing specifically. What special things are they doing? And I think during this time, it's so interesting because when we're helping each other, it's amazing the way you connect people. So the other night I did a Zoom meeting and just brought some people together and said, let's see if there's ways we can help each other. And it was amazing at how many people had things in common from vastly different industries. And so I think about a call I had last week, and probably one of my favorite clients, GECU Credit Union out of El Paso, Texas, is doing some amazing work. It's an amazing culture. It's one of the most fun places I've ever been to. And the training department's like, hey, you do stuff online. Could we pick your brain? I'm like, sure. And then I saw my friend Aaliyah from a great credit union in California at Patelco was posting stuff that she was doing online. I said, hey, would you help this credit union in El Paso? I'd love to put you and Jose together. She goes, oh my gosh, Tim, absolutely. So what I think we also have to realize is these are tough times. There's no getting around it. Yet it's bringing people together. My wife is talking to patients online. She can hold up an app. She never thought she would do that. Number 2, I'm bringing credit unions together that I don't think even know each other. And when I think about Zoom, I just used Zoom Phone and went live with Zoom Phone. If you don't know what it is, check it out. I took a $200 a month AT&T bill down to $15 with more flexibility. I can answer phones on my computer. I'm mobile. My phone goes wherever I want. It's my company number now. It's amazing. And I'm not saying that everything's great coming out of this. I don't want to profess that. But I think about everything that we're all doing. And I think about the relationships that we have with our people. And I go back to, everybody acknowledge 3 companies that are doing special things. Hopefully you have time to write out what they're doing that's special. I'm going to do the same thing. Let's make this thing viral. It doesn't have to come back to me, but let's really acknowledge 3 companies. Because here's the funny thing. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through this, whatever that might mean. We're going to have a new normal, whatever that might mean. We're going to absolutely get through this at some level, whatever that might mean. But how we act now indicates if we walk, jog, or sprint out of this. That is a choice we all have to make right now. And so one of the things I share with you is, I have a local client, a great company, Guy and O'Neill, who said, Tim, we can't let you on the premises. Can we do some things remotely? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And it's afforded me time to build products. And so we're building a whole new product line. Normally when I'm delivering, I don't have time to do that. So it presents an opportunity. And so I think about those things, and I think about what we need to do to leverage these times. And whatever that might mean, it might be such a tough time. But if you have someone who can't leverage these times, find a way to help them. So again, here's your challenge. Acknowledge 3 companies and 3 special things, or 1 special thing per company that they might be doing at this time. And let's share this and let's see how we can go about helping each other. Thanks, everybody.